Okay, today we're going to be doing our era summary over Industrial Revolution. So this will act as your era summary for this era, so make sure when I copy these notes that you do as well, because this stuff might help you throughout this term, okay? So we're going to start off with the Industrial Revolution causes. So we know that the Industrial Revolution is all about this rise in factories and manufacturing, okay? So this revolution is going to be happening at the same time as westward expansion. So we got to kind of put those two things together in our head. So to start off with the causes, we know that we fight a war with the British, right? So this is England. So I'm going to put UK versus US. And we know that when we fight them for the second time, this is called the War of 1812. So when we fought the War of 1812, think of your star, right? We know that we see an increase in manufacturing after the War of 1812. So during the War of 1812, we're obviously not going to want to be buying British goods. So the supply of British goods will decrease during the War of 1812. During the War of 1812. Okay, so we're going to follow our cause and effect. So because the British goods decreased during the war, America is going to start manufacturing their own goods. So we're going to see a manufacturing in the United States increase. And that just means like making your own goods. So manufacturing will increase. Okay, we also see the war lead to the rise of industry. And what we mean by that is just people are going to start making their own goods, or factory work, it's going to start production, right? We need to make our own goods because we could not get them from the British during the war. So rise in industry, right? It's just making your own goods. Okay, we also have something called the cottage industry, and we haven't talked about this much, but all this means, right, a cottage, look at this cute little house. All this means is you are making goods in your house, okay? So I do a little picture of a house, and I'm gonna put goods you make at home. So we start off the Industrial Revolution at the very beginning. People are making goods at their house. They're making things like clothes, tools, anything that they could possibly need, right? They're making it in the home. Then during Industrial Revolution, we kind of shift into this factory system. So this is exactly what you think of, right? It's a factory work. Okay, it's gonna make it faster, cheaper, easier. Okay, all these things will lead to the increase in manufacturing as well, okay? So we got a quick little acronym to remember for the Industrial Revolution. We got some quick little pictures, okay? We're not gonna focus too much on this acronym, but it's just to help understand what this era is all about, okay? So the Industrial Revolution, the acronym is efficient, okay? Everything is gonna become really, really efficient during this era, okay? So first up, the economy, right? The economy, all of these things are going to increase during the Industrial Revolution. So we got economy, making goods will become faster. We will have many factories. We will see a lot of innovation, and we're about to talk about what the difference between innovation and inventions are. Things will become cheaper to make, therefore increasing the amount we can make. We got a lot of new inventions coming. Production will be easier. We will see a rise in new ideas. And we will see a growth of transportation technology. So I don't expect you to remember this acronym like we've been doing many of the acronyms in class. However, this is just to get your mind understanding what's happening during this era. So look at these inventions we got. We're gonna break them down on the back together in just a second, okay? So it's very important during this era to understand the difference between an invention versus an innovation. So look at my pictures here, right? I have a telegraph over here, and this used Morse code to send communication. And we also have an innovation, which would be a cell phone. So these two things are both for communication over long distances, but this is the first time it was ever created. So this is gonna be called, or an invention, just the definition of it is when you create something new. Creating something new. And an innovation, right, is going to be making improvements upon that old one, right? So our iPhone is obviously much more modern, much more advanced than this telegraph was. So it's something that has already been created. And you're basically making, let's add making improvements. I'm gonna put improvements. Okay, so it's making it better, right? An iPhone's obviously gonna be better technology than a telegraph would be. Okay, so to recap, right, the Industrial Revolution, it is happening at the same time as westward expansion. We start the Industrial Revolution because of the war with England, right? We were not able to get goods from them because we're fighting a war. Okay, so we start making our own goods, and that's called manufacturing. Industry will increase. We go from making goods at home, which is called cottage industry, to making things in a factory. It makes it faster. I'm gonna go ahead and underline this. Makes it faster, it makes it cheaper, and it makes it easier, right? So all of these are factors of why we see such a rapid growth of industrialization. Okay, so this made it ... Okay. All right, so now we're ready to talk about the back. Okay, so in my opinion, the back is almost a little more important because we got a lot of concepts we're gonna talk about here. Okay, and we're gonna start off with these famous innovations or these famous inventions, right? We're gonna break it down. These are obviously the most important ones. And we're gonna break it down with the important person who created this or brought this idea about and why it's important, okay? So we start off with interchangeable parts. And I think this one's very, very important. This is gonna kind of revolutionize the way things are made. So the inventor of this is a man named Eli Whitney. Okay, and he is actually also the inventor of the cotton gin. So I'm gonna go ahead and write his name as well. Eli Whitney, and we will see this name. You will definitely see this name again, right? He's a very important key leader here. So let's start with these interchangeable parts. You see the picture here, right? Basically, all you need to know about this, if one piece breaks on, let's say, your gun or a machine, right? You used to have to kind of fix the whole part, right? Nothing's gonna work anymore. With interchangeable parts, if something breaks, you can just replace that one piece. So this is really gonna revolutionize the way things are made in factories, with products, with goods, right? So I'm going to write, this will lead to the use of mass production. And that is a key word we tied to interchangeable parts. So I'm gonna put in caps. Mass production. All right, so if we are talking about interchangeable parts, obviously we're gonna be able to produce goods at a much higher rate, okay? Now we're ready to talk about the cotton gin, and I think this one is very, very important to remember, okay? This is all about money, and this is all about slavery. So we know that the transatlantic slave trade is bringing those enslaved people over to work on plantations and cultivate things like cotton, okay? So Eli Whitney will create this, okay? And basically what it does is it chews up the cotton and it removes all those seeds. This machine will remove the seeds, which makes it a lot quicker because people used to have to do that by hand. So this is gonna actually make it 10 times faster to remove those seeds, obviously increasing the demand for cotton in the United States. Right? Okay, and with the demand for cotton, the demand for slave labor will also increase, and that's gonna see a rise in slavery in the United States. So I'm gonna say demand for slave labor in the South. And labor just means work. Right? So we know we will have an increase in slavery. Right, and this is all about money, right? Those people in the South are making lots of money off of this. Okay, now we're ready to talk about the telegraph. And again, the telegraph is the one from the front. It uses Morse code where it's like you press buttons, lines, or dots and lines, right, to send a message. So this is gonna really help with that long distance communication. Okay, so the inventor of this, his name is Samuel Morse, hence why we call it Morse code. So Samuel Morse will create this, and the whole reason he creates it is because we need an easier method for communicating over long distances. So I'm gonna put long distance communication. Okay, and if you want to make note, it uses Morse code. Okay, so this kind of creates this instantaneous, like, right, rapid, real quick. You can talk to people over long distance. You no longer have to wait for a letter to be sent all the way across the United States. So this is really going to help us out with communication. And we've also already learned about the Transcontinental Railroad, transcontinental meaning going across the United States. And those Chinese and Irish immigrants actually helped lay this railroad. We specifically link it to the Chinese, but the Irish do help as well. Okay, so this Chinese work that's going to be laying down these railroads, that's going to provide economic opportunities for these Chinese immigrants, because it is a job, right? They're getting paid for this. So Chinese immigrants. Okay, we're also going to see this transcontinental railroad is going to expand commercial markets. Okay, and what that means, right? If you're bringing a railroad all the way to the west, okay, you are obviously bringing goods with you. So in the west, how do they get their stuff? How do they get anything that they need to develop cities or be self-sustaining out there, right? These railroads need to bring goods to them. So expands commercial markets. And again, I'm just gonna add a picture of a money sign because most of these inventions are about money. Okay, and the steamboat, we've also talked about the steamboat just a little bit. Talked about Gibbons v. Ogden and those steamboats. Steamboat will be invented by a man named Robert Fulton. And specifically, we tie this to travel up and down, I'm gonna put up and down the Mississippi. So we know Mississippi River is the most important river we learned about this year, and this steamboat will allow you to travel both up and down the Mississippi, which is something that we weren't necessarily able to do before. So that's really gonna help us with moving goods efficiently. Okay, so costs for transporting these goods will also decrease. So it's gonna cost a lot less money to transport these goods wherever you wanna bring them, okay? I also think this one right here is very, very important. They love to ask you some questions about the Erie Canal. Okay, so a canal is like a waterway, and it's basically a man-made waterway that connects one body of water to another. So I'm just gonna write man-made waterway. Man-made waterway. And this will really increase, right? The growth of population along these waterways. Anytime we have a body of water, right, that's able to transport goods, you are going to see a rapid increase in the urbanization in that area, or in the amount of people living there. Okay, so we have rapid growth along this canal, along this waterway, rapid growth along urban centers, and that just means cities. Cities. If you don't know what urban means cities, right? So we have urban and we have rural. Rural would be more like a farm. Okay, and next up, we're gonna talk about the free enterprise system. And this is honestly the most difficult part to understand because it has a lot to do with economy, with business, with money. Okay, so free enterprise system, it's basically gonna be when businesses can operate with little to no government interference. We don't want the government getting in our business, basically. Okay, so business can operate with little to no government involvement. Okay, so so we don't really want the government in our business. Government cannot control trade. Government's not getting in those businesses' business, right? They're kind of letting them be. Okay, so this is really going to make a lot of the American people happy. So we call this the pillars of the free enterprise system. Pillars. And we have private entrepreneurs, or the private enterprise. We have competition. We have private property, profit motive, and consumer sovereignty. And we're gonna talk about that word sovereignty because we should know that word already, okay? So the reason we create this, we got to think about a long time ago when we first built our nation, right? We used the mercantilism system, right? In the mercantilism system, we know we got the mother country, right? That's England. We got the colonies, let's say that's Virginia. And we got the other colony, let's say that's Massachusetts. These colonies cannot trade with one another. They have to send their raw materials back to the mother country in order for the mother country to make the profit from it. So we know that is called mercantilism. Okay, so the free enterprise system will basically be a shift from mercantilism into this area where the government has limited control. So this is American people are really gonna like this. So I'm gonna put mercantilism was disliked, leading to the free enterprise system. Okay, so we no longer have these heavy restrictions on us. Okay, we also see profit motive here. This one's an easy one to understand. So profit motive, obviously, we want to profit. We have a reason to profit, right? This is about supply and demand. So basically, if a good is doing well, we're going to make more of it. If a good is doing not so good, we're not going to produce as much. So supply and demand is what that's talking about. What the American people want, the American people get. And then we also have consumer sovereignty. So a consumer is somebody that's buying things, and sovereignty we know is when the people have the say. So the people have the say in the goods that they buy. People have the say in the goods they buy. Okay, so the free enterprise system is honestly very difficult to understand, but as long as you understand what these pillars are, why it's created, you'll be fine. We'll break this down more as we get further into the year though, okay? And now we're ready for urbanization. So this map will really help us out. Okay, urbanization, we see a shift from rural life, and this would be like a farm basically, to urban centers, right? And we talked about the Erie Canal. Urban centers just mean cities. So we have an increase of people moving from these rural areas into big cities. And some reasons they might be doing that, right? They might be doing that specifically for those jobs in factories, right? So we see a whole bunch of factories in the north. Okay, so the north is known for all this factory work. Okay, the south is known for their agriculture. So we see right here, it's hard to read it. You can't really see it based on the handwriting here. But these women are going to be moving into the north to get these factory jobs. And what we call this is unskilled labor. So the different groups that are going to be moving to the north for factory work are going to be specifically immigrants, women, and children. Okay, and the reason that these people are moving into these big cities to work in these factories is because they do not get paid. They are unskilled laborers, meaning that these people will work for a lot less than, let's say, men who already live in this area. So if you can pay someone a lot less to do the same work, right, these people who own these factories are going to choose that. So we're going to learn about like working rights as we move into that. Okay, so urbanization is just the rapid growth of people moving into these areas, specifically urban. Okay, we also see down here, you see this little waterway. We know that this is that man-made waterway called the Erie Canal. Okay, and we got New York up here, right? That Erie Canal, that man-made waterway is connecting over here. And we know that the Erie Canal will lead us into the Midwest. Okay, so it's gonna help people bring goods. It's gonna bring population and along these this urban center. Okay, so we got population increase in the north. We got slavery expanding to the west, and we know that slavery will expand to the west due to the plantation system, but specifically, we tie this to the invention of the cotton gin. Because the cotton gin was created and because the cotton gin was so helpful, creating it 10 times faster to remove those cotton seeds, slavery will also increase and expand. Okay, and the last part we're going to talk about here is how all of this leads to the sense of nativism. So we know that the Native Americans, right, they're native to the US. So nativism is a concept that kind of forms because of all these people, all these immigrants moving into the nation. We talked about the Irish, the Chinese, the German, who else? Right, all these different groups of people that are migrating into America. Okay, nativism will kind of be against them. Nativism. Okay, so it is basically favoring native born people. So that would be if you were born in the United States, favoring native born people. And because of this, because we have a rise in the immigration in the United States, we see a lot of people with this sense of nativism. They think they are better than these immigrants moving in, and they think that something should be done about it. Okay, so we're actually gonna learn about a new political party that will be formed because of this, called the Know Nothing Party. And we'll talk about why they are called that later. Know Nothing Party. Okay, so we got new political parties, we got growth along urban centers, we got the Erie Canal, factories in the north, women, children, and immigrants working there. We got the free enterprise system, all about money. We got these interchangeable parts, cotton gin, telegraph, transcontinental railroad, steamboat, Erie Canal, right? All this stuff is going to be what we are going to be learning about in an industrial revolution this week. So if you understand what we've talked about today, right, you have a really good base understanding of all that has to tie into the industrial revolution, okay?